To solo queue as effectively as possible, you need to play your best, even if your team is holding you back, which they usually are. That's why in today's video, I'll be going over the top 5 agents to play in solo queue competitive. Starting at number 1, we have Cipher. Now, Cipher has always been a good agent, but after the buffs he got a while back, he's definitely a must pick. He is overall one of the best agents in the game as it stands, which is why I'm telling you about him first. And this goes for solo queue too, by the way, obviously. Now, Cipher's main thing is to lock off sites and give an immense amount of information. You can basically lock down an entire site to yourself with absolute ease. You won't even need a teammate, but you throw a second player on there and it should be wraps for the enemies. As long as you play up your trips and use your utility well, it should be pretty easy. Everyone always appreciates a sentinel player too, so you won't be having any complaints from your teammates. And even if they do, tell them to shut up. You're the one filling. While they probably insta-locked. Just make sure your setups aren't absolutely awful and you should be good. You'll be able to provide tons of info for you and your team on defense without requiring too much help. This is why he's so good as a solo queue agent. You really don't need much to be useful. He also has tons of different ways to play him, as you can be more aggressive or passive if needed. On attack, you can also find yourself lurking a lot, so even then you won't need much help from your team. Now, I'm not saying you should always be lurking. It's something you should do if necessary and just to mix it up every now and then. Just a reminder that when lurking, you shouldn't be doing nothing. You should be actively taking and holding space. Don't be useless even though you're solo queuing, okay? We're trying not to be the problem here. Considering you also technically have pocket smokes with your cages, you can easily make rotates for yourself or your team when caught up in a sticky situation. It is really easy to get lost in the sauce though as a Cipher. While you can play by yourself, please make sure to still help your team out with your utility. You probably shouldn't lurk on the complete opposite side of the map, doing nothing as I said before every round, and just occasionally provide some help for your team. The least you could do. Make sure you also put down some flank trips so your teammates know they're not getting flanked. As for defense, make sure you have common chokes held off and that you're switching your site setup every few rounds just so it isn't too predictable for the enemy team. By the way, did I mention that your ult also gives you wall hacks for a split second? I'm sure you already knew that, but it's a really good ability. You literally get to know where everyone is, and guess what? It only takes 6 ult orbs, so please make use of it. As long as you play smart, Cipher is probably as good as it gets for any solo queue agent. But that doesn't mean the next one won't be a heater though, because for the second agent on the list, that would have to be Skye. Now, although Skye has received some nerfs recently and some changes in one of the most recent patches, that does not mean she is not a good agent. She fell off a little, yes, but she is still near the top, especially when it comes to solo queue agents. While yes, you do have to be a little bit smarter with when you use your flashes as they don't regen anymore, but you can still obtain a ton of information with her utility. As a Skye though, you will have to be leading for your team, so keep that in mind, especially in a solo queue environment. But it is better that you're the one doing it so that you know it's being done properly. Get close to a choke and dog out for intel. Make sure to flash for you and your teammates as you decide to push into sites. Now, the main issue I see with Skye players is they're not using their utility well enough. You should not be dying with a full set of utility or else you did not do your job. You are a waste if that happens. Her utility is what gives her so much survivability. On your own, you have the ability to drone out enemies with your dog. You can also concuss enemies with that same ability. And then you can get audio cues on enemy whereabouts with your flash, which also happen to be one of the best flashes in the game and are very easy to pop flash with. But remember that it's harder to fake flash after the changes because they will detonate at the end of the timer. Then your ult will chase 3 players on the map, and they're usually the ones closest to you. So here's what you should be doing. On defense, make sure you're either dogging and or flashing early in the round for intel. This will let you and your team know where the enemies are pushing from. Off of this, you can rotate and tell your team what to do where the enemies are pushing and have a proper setup for the attack coming forward. Make sure you try to stay alive long enough so they can heal your damaged teammates. I personally think that on defense, the best buy is full utility, and I think same goes for attack. But you can mix it up with getting a gun in there and trading out maybe the dog on defense. After that, you can just continue to play off your utility, and with Skye, you really get one of the most balanced kits, and it is especially strong as a solo queue agent because you can do so much on your own. But if Skye isn't your speed, you might want to try out KO. He's our third goated solo queue agent. KO is good for solo queue play for the same reasons that Skye is. He's one of the better initiators to play considering the amount of power you bring. First and foremost, you have his signature ability, the knife, or KO knife, whatever you want to call it. But this knife will scan out an area for you and tell you who is in it, or maybe the fact that nobody's in it. But if there is someone in it, you're going to disable their abilities for 7 seconds. This will immediately give you an advantage on a one-on-one, or just make it so your team can sweep somebody everybody out really easily, because utility is one of the most important things in this game. If you can't use it, it's usually an easy frag as long as your team uses theirs. This ability is mainly used for information to figure out where to site execute, but it can also be used to send out site executes by taking away those abilities, as I just mentioned. With KO, you also get some amazing flashes that offer a ton of versatility. When swinging a corner, you can just right click and flash anyone watching. This will flash close, so it's, a little bit quicker and easier to swing off of. Then you also have to chuck them further with left clicks, which usually leads to some really good lineups that can help out your randoms without doing much work. Just tell them where the flash is going to land and they can swing off it, get a free pick. So it's pretty clear just how strong he is for solo play off of just those first two abilities. But you also get a molly, so if the bomb is down and you're by yourself, you know what to do. You can also use this to clear out corners if nobody's helping you, which is probably the case. We're a one-man army out here, but we're still helping our teammates. Then lastly, his ult disables everyone's abilities that is near you for about 15 seconds. I think it's a 70-meter range, don't quote me on that. And then if you die while in the ultimate, it will continue to disable the enemies and your team can revive you. So you kind of get 2 lives. So how should you differ on attack and defense? Well, as I said, you can use a knife on attack to start off to get intel, wait a little bit for it to refresh, use the knife again for site execute. You want to be pop flashing out of corners or throwing in deep flashes for your team. Just make sure you don't throw it to where it will flash you or your teammates. So try to throw it overhead or behind where you are playing. The molly can be used for post plant or to get people out of sneaky corners, and then use the ult for pushes typically, or to deny post plant ults from the enemy team. Now when it comes for defense, use the knife for intel, but don't use it too early into a round, but you do want to understand where people are pushing. That's what the knife's mainly for. Also for disabling executes if you already hear them running. Your flashes should be used for swinging corners per usual, or also just helping your teammates get aggressive on defense. The molly can be used to stop plants, it can be used to slow down pushes. Overall, just a very versatile kit that you get with KO. And me personally, I think his ult is really good for when you're attacking in a post plant trying to retake the site, because you're disabling abilities and those post plant ults. So maybe they're sitting on a Sova ult waiting for you to tap the bomb, now they can't use it. You get the idea. Obviously, you're gonna need to play on your own and decide what to do in these matches, but hopefully that gives you a good little guide. But let's say you don't want to play an initiator. Fully understandable. I don't like them personally. So next agent I'd suggest for you is going to be Raina. And I know that everyone hates the Raina insta-lockers, but I kind of have to admit they might be onto something here. Let me explain. When you think of all the characters who help the team the least, Raina is probably at the top. Aside from her leer, she really has nothing to offer for her teammates, and chances are there's already another flash character on your team. So this renders the leers debatably useless as flashes, but they're actually still pretty good. You just wouldn't use them like a traditional flash. While this whole list is for effective solo queue agents, Raina's for if you want to play really solo, like solo, like no help at all. While you should be pushing with the team as a duelist, you can find yourself actually as a pretty effective lurk with Raina as long as you do it when necessary. If a default is called, maybe separate from your team and try to get a few picks on your own. Or if you split a site, Raina's pretty good being on the lesser man's side. You have to remember this character is a tank. In your kit, you can get out of basically every sticky situation as long as you get a kill, which if you're playing Raina, please tell me you're getting kills. If not, go back to Cipher, go back to something else, just play a little bit something slower. Raina might not be your speed. But basically after a kill, you can either dismiss and reposition, making it literally impossible to die in those few seconds, or if you're safe and know nobody is nearby, you can heal back up to full HP. This is why you see so many people playing her. Those two abilities are about the best thing she has, especially on a pistol round where you buy a ghost and you get a kill, now you have 150 HP and a ghost. You see what I'm getting to here? When everything with her is done effectively, she's as good as it gets for solo queue. Just make sure you're not waiting doing nothing on the other side of the map for attack pushes, and then for defense you should be a little bit more aggressive trying to take early one-on-ones and then repositioning after you get a kill. You get the pick, you dismiss, you hide. Or if you know you're alone, you get the heal up, and there you go. There's not much else to say about Raina because she's really pretty simple at the end of the day, but don't worry, our last solo queue agent is going to be a little bit more intricate and challenge your brain a bit more. Sorry if you can hear my dog losing his mind, he's absolutely feral sometimes. So the last solo queue agent we're going to be talking about today is going to be Omen. Now, if you watch my tier list video, which I'll link at the end of this video, you'll know I'm more of a Brim guy, but I have to be honest, Omen is probably a better pick for solo queue playing. So let me explain why. What makes him different from the other smokes? Well, first things first, your smokes are constantly on regen, so you don't have to worry about accidentally wasting your smokes, and these can also be thrown really far compared to other smokes. So if you gambled on the wrong site, you can still help your team out. With Omen, you also get a way more versatile playstyle. The thing that makes Omen so good as a solo queue character compared to other smokes is that you can either be very passive and focus on the team play, or you can adjust yourself to be more aggressive. Sorry. It's really whatever you see fit. I've had 30 plus kill games on Omen, and then obviously you cannot go for as many kills and still win as long as you're helping your team. He's usually the agent that gets the most assists when it comes to smokes. Maybe Viper might tie that, but I think Omen is just about as good as it gets for SoloQ. You get the best blind in the game that is very good on its own, and it's amazing when used with a team. His TPs allow for amazing outplays that you see every now and then you can also make really good rotates off of his ultimate. It's pretty clear how effective he can be. On defense, you really want to be trying to stay alive, using your flash to help your teammates swing things or slow down enemy pushes. Just make sure someone can swing off of that flash. Obviously you need to stay alive for your smokes. Make sure you're getting those down for your team. This goes for every controller. Stay alive, please. We need your smokes. Stop dying. You're not a duelist. And then for his TPs, they're really for outplays or repositioning. Just the outplays go wrong a lot of the time, so make sure you're being smart with it. For attack, coordinate your flash with your team. When you're gonna hit something, flash it. You're most likely gonna hit someone if it's a common spot. Smoke where people. This is pretty basic controller stuff. I don't think I need to explain controllers to you too much. And then the best thing too, you're gonna be playing the one role that people hate to play the most. So if you master this agent and continue to solo queue, chances are you will have no problems on Omen because no one wants to play smokes anyways, and you're actually gonna get some fun out of it and hopefully win your solo queue matches. So you'll be climbing with no problem. And those have to be just about the best characters when it comes to playing on your own. I chose the people that I think have the most survivability and can be played amazingly with or without your team's help. Now, with that being said, watch either of these two videos next and feel free to subscribe. Make sure to wear your seatbelts, stay hydrated, and stay sexy. I said that in the wrong order.